Right, I'll get right into it. The first fight, we have Jessica R. Clark versus Julia Stolarenko. Okay, so this is probably one of the only fights I don't know too much about either of them, but I did a bit of research and everything, and what I could find out is both fighters, they're in the UFC, so they are elite, but they're not top tier. But I did find out Jessica is doing a bit better in her career so far than Julia. So I'm going to go with Jessica. Jessica probably by decision. Then after that, there's Brad Tavares versus Doricius Duplessis. I think that's how you say it. So with that fight, both fighters looking pretty good. Brad's had 2 wins in 2021. He's been in the UFC for quite a while, but it looks like Doricius hasn't been in the UFC for very long. Well, I could find out that he's an up-and-comer. He's had 2 wins in the UFC already, 2 by KO, and I usually go with the newer fighters like that most of the time because they usually just have that momentum straight away. So that should be a good fight, I reckon. But I reckon Doricius is going to win by KO again, just because he's got that momentum. He's sometimes it has that aura when you just knocking out dudes left, right, and center that you just don't stop knocking dudes out. So I reckon he's going to knock out Brad Tavares. Then after that, you got Jessica I versus Macy Barbara. So what I could find out is Jessica hasn't won since 2019 December, so it's about 2.5 years since she's had a win in the UFC. Macy Barber's, I think she hasn't been doing that great. Oh, she's had a couple wins. But what I could find out is that Macy's doing a bit better than Jessica. So I put Macy to win. I'm not going to put KO or decision, just Macy to win. After that, right, Uriah Hall, awesome. He's one of my favorite fighters. Uriah Hall versus Andre Muniz. Uriah Hall is unfortunately getting older, and he's not looking as good as he used to. His last win was, I'm pretty sure, was against Chris Weidman with that huge boomerang leg snap that Chris Weidman did on his shin, which I remember watching that live going, holy shit. But nonetheless, Andre looks like he's won 3 fights in the UFC, and this is the second time they tried booking this fight. Uriah Hall's last fight was against Jordan Strickland. So Uriah Hall's been fighting top tier guys, but I think he's on his way down. So I'm going to put Andre Muniz. I'm not going to put KO decision. I'm just going to put Andre Muniz for a win. After that, awesome fight. Jim Miller versus Donald Cerrone. Okay, these 2 guys, they're just legends in the sport. Unfortunately, they are on their way out of the sport slowly, but they're both always ready for a scrap, especially Cowboy. Cowboy is awesome. But I feel like Jim Miller's still got a bit of that spark left in him. Not saying Donald Cerrone doesn't, but Jim Miller won his last fight, and Donald Cerrone hasn't won a fight in a while. A couple of years, I think. So I'm going to put Jim Miller by win. I'm not going to put decision or KO, just Jim Miller by win. Then after that, there's Ian Gary, the next Conor McGregor, versus Gabe Green. Okay, so I don't know too much about Gabe Green. I tried looking him up. There's not that much on him. There's probably bits and pieces, but I'm going to put Ian Gary. I'm going to put him by knockout because he is on that way up. Everyone's saying the cringe of the next Conor McGregor is what he keeps saying. But he's very skilled. He's very talented. So I reckon he's going to get the knockout against Gabe Green. Then after that, we've got Robbie Lawler versus Brian Barberena. So Robbie Lawler has been one of my favorite fighters for a long time as well. But unfortunately, I do think his best days are behind him as well. Whilst Brian Barberena, he's by the look of his record, he's won his last 2 fights. He's got a bit of a 2-fight win momentum. Doesn't look too great because he's losing a few of the ones before, but it seems to me that he's still in that winning bracket, whilst Robbie Lawler, who has been losing to actually a few top tier guys. There was like Colby, there's Ben Askren, which he was pummeling him until he got submitted. But I reckon Brian Bahrain's going to win. I'm not going to put decision or knockout, just I put him to win. Brad Riddell versus Julian Turner. This one was a hard pick because I really like Brad Riddell. I don't know too much about Julian Turner, but when I looked him up, far out. They're both doing really well. Brad was only lost against he lost his last fight. Oh, I forgot the guy's name. Was it Raphael? It might have been, but he was winning all his fights before that. But Julian, he seems to be winning a lot of his fights as well. So when I looked up Julian a bit more, he's actually 6'3" with a 70-something reach. I'm just going to put Julian Turner because if I'm going to put their records together, they're pretty similar. But I'm going to put Julian because he's the bigger guy. Usually the bigger guy is the advantage. So I'm going to put Julian Turner, and I'm going to put by knockout. Then we go to the main card. Wow, the main card. We got Pedro Muniz versus Sean O'Malley to start up. Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Pedro Muniz. I'll just put out there, Pedro's lost a few of his last fights against really top tier guys like Dominic Cruz. There's Jose Aldo, but like he's only losing to like some of the best bantamweights of all time. Whilst Sean O'Malley's only loss was against Chito Vera. He claims it was a freak accident. It's a TKO nonetheless. But after that and before that, far out. He's been lighting dudes up, creative striking. He's awesome to watch, especially against that greenhead zombie dude. I can't, Chris Martino, something like that. Boy, yeah, watching that live, I was like, dude, Herb, you should have stopped that fight ages ago. That guy was getting beaten up. And then the last fight, Sean O'Malley tried to walk out a few times, and then just far out. They smashed that other guy on the ground. I don't know, and he fought the other guy afterwards. Far out. He's just tearing everyone up. So I'm going to put Sean O'Malley to win by TKO because I reckon Pedro is the top tier guys that he's been losing to. He's still in the losing bracket, whilst Sean O'Malley is on his way up. He's just looking too big. He's too quick. He's actually a decent grappler as well. I just don't think Pedro can withstand Sean O'Malley's power and speed and everything. So Sean O'Malley by knockout. After that, there was supposed to be the Lauren Murphy fight, but that was cancelled. Not too sure why. Then after that, Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira. Wow, that's a pretty good one because it's interesting. It's a middleweight. I reckon it's going to be a middleweight title contender. I haven't said that, but it's looking. Sean Strickland's been on. He beat Uriah Hall. He's beat a few people, but he's an interesting character, that Sean Strickland, because he's a bit of a nutcase. I guess you have to be a bit of a nutcase you want to do that professionally, but he comes out with some pretty polarizing things, controversial stuff. The way he fights is interesting because he's not like traditional boxer. He's kind of a slugger, but there is technique there. Whilst Alex Pereira, a lot of kickboxing background, probably the reason the UFC signed him, not just because of how good he is and the power he has, it's probably because in that middleweight division, he's the only person to knock out Israel Adesanya in kickboxing. So they probably want that big money fight against Alex Pereira versus Israel Adesanya. But, so right now he has to get past Sean Strickland, which I think would be a good fight. Should be interesting to see with that slugger Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira's creative power. And Sean Strickland can take a hit. I'm going to go with Alex Pereira because of the creative striking. And I reckon, I don't know who you are, but I don't think you can take what Alex Pereira's got. He's got some far out blasting hands, blasting knees. His last win when he did the flying knee out of nowhere. I'm going to put Alex Pereira by knockout. Then, my gosh, no, Volkanovski versus Max Holloway 3. Interesting, because Volk's already won twice by decision. First one, I definitely thought Volk won. It was the leg kicks and everything that got through. Second fight, as Volkanovski's one of my favorite fighters, but I reckon Max won that second fight. I reckon Max had won more rounds. I can't remember rounds exactly, but I reckon he won more rounds. But nonetheless, Volk won, and I won money that day anyway. So the third fight, it's just interesting because they've both just been destroying everybody before. Like they both fought twice after versing each other the second time, and they just both destroy these people. I'm going to go with Volkanovski. Reason being is because I think in the second fight, he found out if he wrestled Max to the floor, he's able to get steal rounds. So I don't think he's going to get the knockout. There's going to be another decision. I think he's going to wrestle him predominantly. So, but Max has shown he can mix it up with the wrestling and clinching as well. But Volkanovski has a background in wrestling, if not many people know that. But I just reckon he's got the advantage in that way. He's just, for a little guy, he's so strong. He used to play rugby. He used to be a bloody heavyweight in rugby, pretty much. You see pictures of him, he's huge. I'm going to go with Volk. Decision. Then, the main event, Israel Adesanya vs. Jared Cannonier. Interesting one, because Israel's versed a lot of people kind of like Jared being the big power guy. So Izzy's versed like Paulo Costa, Marvin Vettori, like big guys with a lot of power. And you can only see when Izzy's had trouble, it's only usually been against people with creative striking like Kevin Gastelum or Robert Whittaker. Well, Robert Whittaker being the second fight. And there's not even that much trouble because Izzy does come out with the win convincingly as well. And Izzy's been one of my favorite fighters since he got here. As soon as he actually got onto the scene, I went back and watched so many of his kickboxing fights. He's just awesome to watch, and he's so fluid. He's so creative. He just finds ways to just put it on you, but make it look so cool. I think that's why they call him the last style bender. It's probably because of his dancing background. He's just really sick. So then you got Jared Cannonier. He was a heavyweight in the UFC, moved to light heavyweight, and then to middleweight. He's got wins in all of them, I'm pretty sure, which is crazy. You look at him, he's a built boy. He knocks out dudes left, right, and center. Like the one he put on Derek Brunson, that, oh my God, vicious. He can, I think, any way he throws a strike, it's got power. And when you have someone like that, it really only takes one or two big hits, and pretty much most people, if not everybody, is going to get flatlined to the floor. But I'm going to go with Izzy because he's shown that even with the big power punches, he knows how to evade them. He knows how to keep his distance. He knows how to set them up, set those traps up. So it would be pretty big upset Jared wins, but Izzy's just got that style where he just sees everything. He sees what you're gonna do. Every now and then he might slip up, but like even in his last fight against, was it Marvin Vettori? Yeah, but for the second time, even when he was looking at Muhammad Ali with the slips on the fence and everything. I think it was like 30 punches missed in 10 seconds or something ridiculous. So I'm going to put Izzy by decision. I wouldn't be surprised if it was by knockout, but I'm going to put by decision. Guys, I wouldn't recommend this more enough. Usually I say, okay, you don't have to watch the prelims, but watch them because they're cool and you get to see up and coming fighters. Just watch the main card. But this is one of the ones where I'm like, seriously, watch the prelims as well. Go on Foxtel or whatever way you watch a KO. Watch the prelims as well. They start nice and early, so no matter what you're doing night for, just remember, watch them really early. Get to watch all of them, because you'll see, I reckon there's going to be so many good knockouts, so great slugfests. Just watch all the fights. So I'm personally very, very excited. This is going to be great.